Hello and welcome to the Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friend. If you've been looking for a podcast geared towards your growth, self-awareness, navigating your brain's daily mind drama, and deep inner work to become your highest and best self, you are in the perfect place. Let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. I hope that you guys are hanging in there with the COVID-19 craziness that is happening. Hope that you are self-isolating as much as you can, not only to keep yourself healthy, but to protect the people around you. And if you're having trouble managing your mind around that, just know that last week's episode was how to manage your mind during COVID-19. This week, we are going to do a part 2 of buffering. When I launched this podcast, I had different intentions, and part of that was being able to break down really specific practices that I teach a lot of my clients in a shorter amount of time. However, trying to give you guys as much information so that you could take the tools and use them out in the real world. And to this day, I think I launched my podcast back in October, and to this day, buffering, what is the episode called exactly? I think it's called Are You Guilty of Buffering? Yes, that's what it is. That is the most popular episode of my podcast to date, and it is everything that my business centers around is buffering, because buffering was the thing that when I learned about it, it changed my life. When I am stressed and when I'm having anxiety, I always go back to figuring out if I'm buffering. And as soon as I can pinpoint that, I can take control of my life back. So I think that that's probably why the Are You Guilty of Buffering episode is the most popular one. It's the most listened to. It's the one that's downloaded the most. It's just the episode that people love the most out of every episode on my podcast. There's a few that are close second, third, and fourth, but buffering always takes it by a long shot. So I thought I would get on here and talk about buffering again in the situation that we're in, because this is a perfect opportunity to figure out if you're buffering, and you probably are, because it's a very stressful time for most of us. So you guys know that our brain loves comfort, and our brain loves doing the same thing over and over and over again. We love autopilot. 95% of our brain, operates from our subconscious, which is already programmed types of things. And only 5% of our conscious mind creates new habits, routines, and thoughts and things and all of that. So it's very easy for us to get into a habit and a routine and feel comfortable, even if it's not the routine that's serving us the best, right? We maybe have visions of what we want for our life, and we maybe have things that we would really like to do or experience, before our time is up. But a lot of times, most people don't ever reach that because they have a hard time turning off the autopilot. And it's understandable, because 95% of your mind is going to focus on autopilot. So you only have 5% of your brain having the capacity to change things for you. I want you to really let that sit in. You only have 5% of your mind working towards your goals. That's why it's so hard. I hear my clients a lot of times say, but I just don't feel motivated, and I just don't feel like I want to, and I just don't feel like I should, even though I know what I need to be doing. I just can't get myself to do it. And I'm like, well, of course, because 95% of your system is programmed into all the things that are not serving you for your highest and greatest good, but it is serving you as far as comfort. And the brain likes comfort. So you only have 5% of yourself that has the willpower to say, we are done with all of the self-sabotaging. We're done with all of the routines that are not helping us be our highest and greatest self, right? So when it comes to buffering, we do that when we're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, and when a lot of times our subconscious begins to talk to us. And our subconscious begins to talk to us whenever we have a lot of downtime. So people right now with this COVID-19 outbreak are going absolutely insane because they are used to being busybodies, okay? They're used to having a routine that they do every single day. They're used to their kids being in school right now. They're used to coming home, maybe, having to ask them, do you have any homework? Maybe having to help them get things ready for dinner. Do whatever they've got to do, whether they're just getting home from work or they work from home, and then bath time routines, and then bed, and then, you wake up every day and you do the same thing over and over and over again. That's your 95%. So there might be a few days where you have a new habit or routine, but for the most part, you're doing the same thing every single day. And when you have downtime, most people in the world fill it with something. I'm going to volunteer here. I'm going to go do this and that there. I'm going to do whatever the thing is, right? We fill a lot of our time. And then what we do is we fill a lot of our time and we think, oh my God, I'm so busy. I would just love some downtime. I really wish I had time. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. Well, now because of COVID-19, you have a lot of time. More than likely, you have more time now than you've had in the last probably 5, 10, 15, or 20 years of your life. You have time to sit down with your kids at dinner and really hear them. You have so much time. You're trying to keep them busy because there's not the same routine and habits. I'm seeing on Facebook that people are having to cook several meals a day, which they are just so not used to doing. I'm seeing that they're able to get to know their children on a deeper level. So although there's a lot of horrible things that we see in the media because of this COVID-19 coronavirus stuff, there's also a lot of good that's coming out of it and, building stronger bonds. And I think deep down, we're going to have so much gratitude when all of this is over because we're going to appreciate the things that we're not currently able to do. However, something I want to say in addition to that is that with the buffering situation, most people are not able to fill their time with the things, the busy things, and the additional things on their plate that would keep them from having to look at their subconscious thoughts and patterns. If you are having trouble with your mental health right now because of COVID-19, it is your subconscious trying to talk to you. It is the things that you're stressing about internally trying to show you something. The reason that we buffer and the reason we stay busy and the reason that we fill a lot of our time is because we don't want to look at those subconscious things. They usually don't feel good. I want to repeat that. When we are keeping ourselves busy and we don't have to sit and be with ourselves, it's usually because in our subconscious, there are things that are going to come up if we were sitting with ourselves that don't make us feel good. When you sit and you're alone with yourself, your brain is going to download everything that's in your subconscious. Everything that maybe you have avoided and have been able to distract yourself from because you've been busy, because you've had a routine, because your brain has operated on being autopilot. With COVID-19, most people are not able to be on autopilot. Their entire programming system, the way that their mind has been made up, is off the charts. They cannot predict the next thing coming. They cannot control the outcome. And when you're on autopilot, you feel very in control. When you're in a routine, you feel very in control. Your brain loves that. That's why it's so hard to change. When I ask people in my free programs or in the programs where they're paying me for my services, and I ask them to sit with themselves, no phone, no TV, no nothing, no grabbing a snack, no having something to drink, nothing. I want you to just sit with yourself on the couch or the bed, no noise, for at least 2 minutes. That's what I ask. Just 2 minutes. Do it for 2 minutes. And if you can do it longer, do it for 5 minutes, and then 10, and then 20, and then 30, and see what happens. Most people come back and tell me they were crawling out of their skin. They could not be alone with themselves for 2 minutes because when they did that, they thought of the first layer is you think of everything you think you need to be doing. I need to go do the dishes. I need to go do the laundry. I need to go make my kids a sandwich. Oh shoot, I think they're calling for me. I need to go get them. And that's like the first layer of protection for our brain. Our brain is like, hey, think of something that you can do other than this because this feels bad. So let's go figure out something that we can do. And then people go and do that, right? They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do the laundry or dishes. Even though they've been avoiding it for 4 days, they'll go do it to avoid sitting with themselves. So that's the first layer. The second layer of that, if you can break through 2 minutes, if you can break through 5 minutes, and if you can get closer to 10 to 15 to 20 minutes of sitting with yourself, no distractions, no buffering, you're going to find that your subconscious is going to pull up the most random things that you've pushed down really, really deep. You've pushed it down and you have avoided over it by being busy and by having a routine that you do every single day. And when these emotions and these subconscious thoughts come bubbling to the surface, you're going to start being on an emotional roller coaster most of the time. You're going to have thoughts that make you angry. You're going to have thoughts that make you anxious. You're going to have thoughts that make you sad. You're going to have thoughts that make you feel some joy. You might have thoughts that make you feel resentful. And all of those negative emotions carry a negative vibration, right? They don't make us feel good. And the brain always wants to feel good. That's why it continues to do your routine and your habits every single day, because at least on that 95% of your brain that's autopilot, it doesn't have to feel like crap most of the time. So most people in the world have a very hard time being with themselves, sitting with themselves, because when things pop up in their mind that make them feel negative, they don't feel like they're going to be able to escape it. They're like, oh no, I don't want to feel anxious. I don't want to be in a funk. I don't want to feel depressed. But the thing about it is, you guys, is that when we are not looking at the things that are in our subconscious and we're shoving them down and being distracted, we're not healing ourselves. And why do we need to heal ourselves? Because we're healing ourselves not only for us, but for every generation after us, for your kids, for your kids' kids, for your kids' kids' kids. You're healing generations of trauma and hardship and negative thoughts and beliefs that don't serve you. And, the other thing is that when you're looking at all of that stuff and you're healing, you become more aware. And when you become more aware, you're going to feel more spiritually connected because you're going to see the things in life that are serving you all the time. I feel like when people start having their spiritual awakening is when they've been at rock bottom and they truly don't know where else to go or who they even are, and they have no choice but to sit with themselves and figure out what the heck is going on in their subconscious. And most people are resistant to that. I feel like I get to help people break a little bit of a layer of that when I do a Reiki session on them. When I do Reiki on someone, we have 7 chakras in our body. I've heard that we have several more, but the standard and what you'll see if you were to get on the internet when you Google chakra is that there's 7. And each of those 7 chakras are connected to different organs in our body, different systems in our body, and they have different meanings. And this is like ancient practices. It's so neat to see the knowledge that we had way, 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 way back in the day. I mean, way, way, way back when. It's really cool because now we have like the science and the practicalness of being able to measure the mind because we have awesome machines and whatnot. But back in the day, it was just more intuitive. They were more spiritually connected, and they were using systems like the chakra system to figure out, why is this person sick? Why is this person having a hard time with this particular system in their body or this particular organ in their body or whatever? And when I do a Reiki session on someone, I'm able to see what systems of their body are quote unquote shutting down and not operating the way that they need to be because of the subconscious. Because everything that you need to be thinking about and need to be healing, but you're covering it up with routines and habits and your 95% of autopilot. Everything that you are covering up by doing that, it's still impacting your body and your health. When we release stress hormones in our body, our organs cannot, in those moments, function the way that they're designed. Because when stress hormone is released from our body, we then have our system working overtime to return us back to homeostasis. Because the moment that those stress hormones are released, it means we're going into fight or flight. We're trying to fight off a threat. And the only threat in that moment is our mind. So we're releasing these stress hormones and we're not having to actually flee from danger a lot of the times. There's just danger in our mind. There's not an actual physical danger in front of us. So at that point, our body is not working the way that it's intended. At that moment, we're thinking, okay, how can we get away? And our organs, are then in stress in that moment until the threat is perceived as being gone. Only then can it return to homeostasis and get us back into working order. So people that are living under stress all the time have their organs not working the way that they need to be working to promote health. So even with this COVID-19 situation, if you're constantly under stress and anxiety and you're thinking of the worst possible case scenario and you're stressing yourself over, are people staying inside? Are they not staying inside? How long are we going to have to be like this? I can't be like this. Oh my God. And you're anxious. You are weakening your immune system. You are making yourself more susceptible to any illness that were to pop in on your life because your body is not able to fight the actual threats off if it feels like the threat is happening 24/7 because your mind can't turn off that stress hormone and that anxiety. Okay, so you're down regulating your genes and your system in your body because your body thinks that it's in a war 24/7. When you're stressed, your body thinks you're in war 24/7. So everything about it is not working properly. When you finally get that stress out of your body and you feel content and calm and at peace, then your body can work the way it's supposed to. Then it's able to fight actual threats and germs and viruses and all of the things that come about. Your body can actually do that. So a body that's under stress for long periods of time and, subconscious thoughts that are keeping you in that stress for a long period of time, now you're affecting the energy centers of your body. So I see this a lot with my Reiki clients, and they might have 4 block chakras. That's 4 different systems in their body, organs, illnesses that they are heading down that road if they're not there already. And a lot of times my clients are already there. They've got thyroid issues, they've got stomach issues, they've got bladder issues. All of that is connected, okay? So my point with this podcast is to tell you that this time period may feel very confusing and very frustrating, and you might find yourself buffering a whole lot. And when I say buffering, that means you are scrolling on your phone all day long or for several hours at a time, or even in large chunks of time. You are eating yourself to death because you're bored and you don't know what else to do. You keep needing a snack, right? To keep yourself busy, you're needing a snack. You constantly have a drink in your hand, right? Maybe you're drinking a lot more alcohol than you normally would, to kind of take the edge off because you're feeling a little bit of stress, or, maybe it's like you're thinking it's 5:00 somewhere and you're drinking by noon. I don't know. Maybe you are shopping online. You're just going through and you're shopping and you're buying all of these things that you wouldn't normally buy because that feels really good to you right now, right? Or maybe you're just like keeping yourself so busy, you're just cleaning, or you're making routines for your kids and you're like, we've got a set schedule because you feel like you can't operate without one. I want to challenge you to really think about this. Maybe you're even watching Netflix nonstop. You're watching TV nonstop. You're finishing a series in a day. Okay, if you're doing all of the things that I listed, you are probably buffering. Now, don't beat yourself up about it. It's good to be aware of it, because if you're aware of it, all I am asking you to do is to challenge yourself to giving yourself 5 minutes minimum. Try 20 minutes if you can, but 5 minutes where your TV is turned off, your phone is on silent, and it's far away from you. Okay, you don't have a snack in your hand, you don't have a drink in your hand, you're not self-numbing with anything, you're not buffering, you're not distracting yourself. I want you to sit with yourself. What comes up for you? Do you start to feel anxious? Do you start to feel depressed? Do you start to feel angry? Do you start to feel scared? Do you feel fear? Do you feel like you're going to crawl out of your skin? If you feel those ways, congratulations. On the other side of that is your awakening and everything that you want different in your life. I mean that from the depths of my soul. That is where I got in 2017. I hit rock bottom. I knew nothing else. I felt so bad. I was avoiding the negative emotions like the plague. They felt horrible. Oh my gosh. And when I finally realized there was this thing called buffering, and I was able to point out all the ways in which I did it, and I was able to set aside an intentional time where I was not going to allow myself to do that, I learned so much about myself. I learned that there were so many thoughts in my subconscious that I was not facing because it felt too painful. Like I would have a thought and I thought that I had healed that years ago in therapy, working with a therapist. And there it was, popping up in my mind, making me feel bad all over again. Then guilt because I thought that I had healed it, right? And then there would be thoughts about, things that made me feel super anxious, thoughts that made me feel very depressed. And those negative emotions, because I didn't want to feel that way, because in our mind as humans, we think we're supposed to be happy all the time. I resisted it. So I can't even tell you, when I went through this process, I realized just how bad it was that I was always on my phone, because I put my phone, about 10 feet away from me to where I couldn't just grab it. And my body would have these reflexes of reaching for the phone every time my mind would start to dig deep and find those thoughts when I was sitting with myself, because I had no TV on, no nothing, no distractors. And my body would reach for my phone over and over again and kind of forget what I was having it do. And I was having it sit and stay. You have to teach your brain that. Sit and stay. There is no harm coming at you right now. You really have to be intentional about telling your brain that when you're going to work on some buffering stuff. Like sit, stay. There is nothing more important than the next 5 minutes you spend with yourself. What comes up for you in those 5 minutes? If you can sit with the discomfort of what is coming up for you in those 5 minutes, you're doing it. You're doing the most powerful work you can be doing. Because when your brain points to those things that come up in those 5 minutes, those 10 minutes, those 20 minutes, you know where you need to do the healing work. You know what you need to work on. You know why it might be beneficial to hire a coach to work on those specific things, because those specific things, if you clear them out, that is your spiritual awakening on the other side. That is when you are so in tune with yourself, you will literally see life through a different lens. I promise you, again, I'm saying that from the depths of my soul, everything will be different for you. But most people have a hard time with that. So what I'm seeing on people's Facebook is like they are going crazy. They're like, I'm an extrovert. I can't do this. I need to be with my friends. I need to do this. I need to do that. Or what are you having your kids watch on Netflix? Or what are you watching as a family? We're about to binge a show. And part of that is understandable, you guys. I know we're not used to having this much time. And it's hard to keep your kids entertained, and you need a hot minute. So remember to self-care as well. And part of your self-care may be putting a show on for your kids so that you can take a hot minute, pour your glass of wine or alcohol or bourbon or whatever it is that you're drinking and chill, So don't beat yourself up about it. It's a matter of looking at what are you doing to fill your time all day, because now you have all the time in the world to do the things that you wish you were wishing for weeks ago. Before this happened, you more than likely used the excuse of time being the reason you couldn't do all the things. You couldn't fill all the projects. You couldn't paint your house. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do this. I don't have time. I work all day. My kids are in school. Then I help them with homework. Then I get them to bed. Now you have the time. And now that you have the time, you almost have such an abundance of time that most people are finding they can't sit with themselves. They can't sit still. They can't not be busy. Why is that? Because the moment you're not busy, you're going to have to think about your thoughts. Your subconscious is going to talk to you. And it's what your subconscious says to you that holds the key to unlock all the other doors for reaching your highest self. So if you're buffering, stop. Stop for 5 minutes. Stop for 15 minutes. Stop for 20 minutes. Give yourself that time. So I hope that buffering part 2 is really helpful for you guys, especially during COVID-19. It's been so enlightening for me as a coach to see all the people that are really having a hard time sitting with themselves. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but this is the perfect time. This is the work. Who you become on the other side of this is everything if you will give yourself permission to feel bad temporarily as your brain searches through the catalog of everything that's bothering you. If you can let your brain search through the catalog of everything that's making you feel scared, anxious, sad, depressed, if you can look through all of that, you have the recipe of what needs to be worked on to get to the other side, to break through. It's like the most exciting thing in the world. So don't forget that you hold such valuable information when you're not being busy, when you're not operating in your 95%. Okay? Your 5% of yourself that wants to create new habits and has the capacity to do that needs to know what is happening in the 95% that's keeping you from doing it. And most of the time it's I don't want to feel bad. I just don't want to have to face all of these things. So I'm going to buffer. I'm going to watch 8 shows on Netflix in a row. I'm going to get on my phone and get lost in the rabbit hole. I'm going to go get more wine than I'm used to having. I'm going to go, grab a drink every time I'm anxious. I'm going to go smoke a cigarette every time I'm anxious. I'm going to go get online and I'm going to shop even though, we don't know where the economy is going to be. I'm going to go shop myself to death because that feels better than being with me. How sad if we cannot be with ourselves alone with our thoughts. When we feel like we can't do that, that means that there's things that we need to look at. So try not to buffer. Okay? A few things that I want to say to wrap this up, to just let you know what I have going on. I have a group program called Becoming Her. We coach every Sunday and Wednesday in that group. Okay, right now we're doing a money course, and the women that are in there, we had kind of decided that we weren't going to do our regular scheduled program on Sundays and Wednesdays while we did the money course, because they at the time didn't want to be completely overwhelmed by Sunday trainings, Wednesday trainings, and a money course. So for the last few weeks, we've been focusing just on the money course. But in Becoming Her, what to expect, because I recently just changed this back over. We are going to coach every Sunday and Wednesday. And even if that is right now for us going through the money program, we're going to coach on money Sundays and Wednesdays. But if you hop into that program, just know that you have support twice a week from me coaching you through every Sunday and every Wednesday, okay? And that is a community that I'm hoping to build really, really big. That's what I'm working on, so that before we know it, there's hundreds and thousands of women in there, all able to lift each other up, and we're all working on becoming our highest selves together, becoming her. And there's different payment plans for that if you want to get in that. And once you're in there, you have lifetime access to me and all of my coaching programs. So if you get in there, you never pay another penny for my money program, for my Inner Mastery program. In addition, Inner Mastery is going to be launching soon. I'm also working on a digital version. So if you don't want to do the live version where we meet over Zoom every single week for 12 weeks. The digital program, I'm working on trying to get that rolling out. And once you purchase the digital course, you can do it at your own pace. You have access to it for life. So that's a really exciting thing, because, you can go through the program, and then if a year from now you're like, I really miss Inner Mastery and the things that I learned from it, I've changed, I want to go through it again, you can go through it as many times as you want because you have access to it for life. So I recently switched platforms, and I'm working on integrating all of my old program stuff into this new system and getting you guys content, so that I don't know how long we're going to be experiencing this COVID-19 stuff, but hopefully you are able to use some of this stuff as a resource and be able to coach yourselves through, whether that's, live with us and Becoming Her, or Inner Mastery, or even Shift. And Shift is my brand new program that launched a few weeks ago. It was free. It still is free. I'm still allowing people to get into that group. So I did 3 trainings in there, basically on mindset and shifting your mindset. And then I've been popping in there a little bit more than that, just to check on people with COVID-19 and train them even more. And it's really like people are inviting their friends in there. So that's free to you. The podcast is free to you. So there's definitely some free resources that you can use from me if you want to. And then if you would like to dive further into this, just visit my website, MacieRenee.com, MacieRenee.com, and you can see the different ways to work together. I have one-on-one coaching if you're just really struggling like mentally with everything going on and you need my undivided attention. There's one-on-one coaching available. There is, again, Becoming Her. That's something that you invest in once or do the payment plans. And once you're in there forever. You have a community of women that's growing and evolving constantly. And I coach in there every Sunday and Wednesday. And then you have my programs that launch 2 to 3 times a year, like the Money Course and Inner Mastery. And Inner Mastery is my signature program, the very first program that I ever created, the most popular one, and that's getting ready to launch really soon as well. So if there's something that you've been wanting to do and work on, just keep an eye out for that. And if you ever have questions, just feel free to reach out to me. But I hope that you are taking care of yourself. I hope that you're remembering to self-care. And I hope that you like this second half of buffering, since the first episode of buffering is my most popular one. So I will talk to you guys next week. Take care of yourselves. Try not to buffer. Sit with yourself. And if you're struggling with it, that's why I'm here. Please reach out. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.